Good afternoon, I'm Rob Boskamp, and you're listening to South Texas Midday. Thank you for joining me on this Monday, June 23rd. Former District 27 Congressman Blake Farenthold passed away last Friday after suffering what friends called a chronic illness. He was 63. The radio host, lawyer, and former District 27 representative took over the congressional seat in 2010 after Solomon Ortiz and was succeeded by Michael Cloud. Farenthold unseated Ortiz, his Democratic opponent, who had held the seat since its creation in 1982. That election came down to less than 800 votes. Farenthold was reelected in 2012, 2014, and again in 2016. Tomorrow, the City of Corpus Christi Council will get a briefing on a proposal to create Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone 7 that would fund the development of about 5,200 acres of mostly undeveloped land in the London area. A TIRZ is a method for generating funding for projects in designated areas of the city. The funding comes from the value of taxable property in the zone. Funds generated by TIRZ 7 would pay for infrastructure improvements, including roads, utilities, parks, trails, and public areas. During tomorrow's regularly scheduled council meeting, members will also receive an update on the Inner Harbor Water Treatment Campus. Tomorrow's full meeting agenda can be viewed at the city's website at corpuschristitx.gov. The City of Corpus Christi's Solid Waste Services announced last week a substantial decline in its recycling contamination rate, dropping from 34% to 27%, as revealed by the spring annual recycling audit conducted by Republic Services. Recycling contamination occurs when non-recycled items or materials soiled with food and liquids are mixed with clean recyclables, which significantly reduces the quality of collected materials. A recent audit shows that residents are actively participating and contributing to the overall success of the city's recycling program. This improved contamination rate brings Corpus Christi closer to the national average of 25%. These annual audits play a crucial role in determining the reimbursement rate the city receives for the sale of recycling commodities. For the audit, 2 routes are randomly selected from each collection day. The materials collected from these routes are then taken to Republic Services for comprehensive processing and analysis. The correct recycling commodities are then separated from the residuals at the processing facility to identify what can be sold. In state news, over the weekend, Governor Greg Abbott has vetoed a bill to ban the sales of virtually all products containing THC, the psychoactive compound found in cannabis. Houston Public Media's Andrew Schneider says Abbott is calling a special session of the legislature in part to deal with problems posed by the lack of regulation for THC consumables.
Governor Abbott waited until shortly before the midnight deadline to veto Senate Bill 3. He did not immediately issue an explanation for the veto, but he did announce a special session that will begin July 21st. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, the lead advocate for the ban, responded on social media by saying that Abbott had left the families who had seen their loved ones' lives destroyed by such products feeling abandoned. Abbott's veto leaves the state's multi-billion-dollar hemp industry intact for now. Patrick and others demanded the ban in large part because they alleged the industry was targeting minors. I'm Andrew Schneider in Houston.
Governor Abbott had a busy weekend deciding which bills to sign, veto, or let take effect without his signature, and he had to do that all before midnight on Sunday for over 1,200 measures passed by the Texas legislature this session. Ultimately, he vetoed 26 measures and signed more than 1,100. The Texas Newsroom's Blaze Gainey stayed up late following the action.
By far the biggest veto from Abbott was Senate Bill 3, which would have banned THC in Texas. Of the 25 others the governor struck down, several dealt with criminal justice, including House Bill 413. That bipartisan measure passed both chambers in the Texas legislature with only one no vote. That bill would have made sure certain defendants aren't in pretrial detention for longer than the maximum sentence allowed for their offenses they're accused of. The governor releases a statement for why he vetoes a bill, so at some point this week we'll learn more about his reasoning. I'm Blaze Gainey in Austin.
Governor Abbott was also expected to sign a bill by yesterday that would limit land sales to non-citizens from several countries, including China. Houston Public Media's Andrew Schneider says Abbott's signature is likely to trigger a legal challenge.
Senate Bill 17 would restrict land sales to individuals from China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea.
The Florida law that this is based off of has already been challenged. That case is headed to the Supreme Court.
State Representative Jean Wu says the measure encourages discrimination against all Asians and Asian Americans.
This is either an exercise in futility where the state is passing something that has already been ruled unconstitutional and have people have determined and have acknowledged that was racially discriminatory 100 years ago, or we're going to end up allowing the courts to put into law one of the only types of racial discrimination that we currently allow.
Wu says such laws violate the 14th Amendment and the Federal Fair Housing Act. I'm Andrew Schneider in Houston.
The Texas Supreme Court says Southwest Airlines pilots can move forward with their lawsuit against Boeing over its defective 737 MAX jet. KERA's Toluwani Osibemo reports the pilot union claims Boeing misled pilots into signing a contract agreeing to fly the model.
Hundreds of people died in two separate 737 MAX crashes in Indonesia and Ethiopia a few years after that agreement was signed. Boeing then grounded the plane. The pilot union says their flight schedules shrunk and they collectively lost millions of dollars as a result. Boeing says allowing the suit to move forward is against federal labor law because it requires rehashing the terms of the pilot's contract with their employer. The Texas Supreme Court disagreed, but they did not rule on the actual claims the pilot union is making. That's up to a lower trial court now. I'm Toluwani Osibemo in Dallas.
A political power play is quietly unfolding in Texas that could redraw the congressional map for the state and decide which party rules in Congress. The goal is to squeeze more Republican seats out of Texas, but Texas Public Radio's David Martin Davies reports there are red flags and this could backfire.
Currently in Texas, there are 38 congressional seats. Of those 38, 25 are represented by Republicans and 12 seats by Democrats. There is one vacant seat in a solid blue district in Houston that won't be filled until November. Only 3 of the 38 are considered competitive swing states. The remaining 35 seats are safe. But all that could soon change.
That's right. They want to push it even further.
That's Texas Democratic Congressman Greg Casar. He's noting that Texas is already considered one of the most gerrymandered states. Casar says the Trump White House wants even more Republican seats out of Texas.
Donald Trump is clearly just breaking out. Trump's popularity had plummeted. So he's calling up Governor Abbott to try to change all the rules.
Historically, the party of the current president, Republican or Democrat, they lose seats in Congress during the midterm election. So this would be bad news for Donald Trump. A democratically controlled Congress would torpedo his legislative agenda, and Trump could be impeached again. But Trump just can't order Texas to redraw the congressional map. Only Governor Greg Abbott can do that by calling a special session, and Abbott has not indicated that he's going to do that. Texas State Representative Jeff Leach, a Republican from Allen, told KTVT CBS Dallas lawmakers are prepared in case he does.
And if the governor calls us back into special session, whether it's on redistricting or any other matter, then we'll show back up to Austin and we'll do our jobs.
To achieve Trump's goal of getting more GOP seats out of Texas, that would mean taking safe Republican districts and turning them into not-so-safe districts. That's because the new map would be spreading thin the state's Republican voters. But if they're spread too thin, Representative Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the House Democrats, says that could be a gift for Democrats.
If you make any changes to that map, they're going to endanger at least 4 to 6 Republican incumbents.
Jeffries says a new Texas map could give Democrats enough seats to take the majority back.
Be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it and you won't like the result.
Cal Gilson, a political science professor at Southern Methodist University, says a mid-decade redistricting for political advantage has happened before in Texas, and there's nothing to stop it from happening again.
The 2003 redistricting and the ripple effects of that is one of the great political stories in Texas history.
Democrats tried to block the redistricting by breaking quorum and fleeing out of state, but all that did was slow down the process.
And I think what's distinctive about the potential redistricting that could occur in Texas now is that there is a lot more ambivalence.
Gilson says many Texas Republican members of the U.S. House are not keen on this plan because it will endanger their political futures.
So some of them are dragging their feet.
If they drag their feet too long, the window of pulling this off before midterms could close. The deadline to file a declaration of intent to run for Congress in Texas is December 8th. I'm David Martin Davies in San Antonio.
And the West Oso Education Foundation hosted its inaugural Black and Silver Gala last night, inducting 4 graduates into the West Oso Hall of Fame. Those inducted were Veronica Flores Herrera, Deanna Moore, Moise Acuna Garola, and the Motown Smokers. All inductees are West Oso High School alumni who were recognized for their accomplishments and contributions to the community. The West Oso Education Foundation also honored the district's longtime and now retired band director, Dr. Maurice G. Portis, with the 2025 Distinguished Teacher Award. And that is the latest news and information on South Texas Midday. If you happen to miss any stories here, you can listen to today's episode and previous episodes of South Texas Midday wherever you get your podcast. Be sure to check out our other KEDT series like Community Focus. I'm Rob Boskamp. Your community arts calendar and more is on the way.